44PHH carburetors as used on the 190SL. They are very similar but not identical to those used on the BMW 2002 and a couple of models of Alpha like the 1900 and the 2600. I'd like to point out a few features on these freshly rebuilt carburetors. First of all, the flange, the surface where the carburetor bolts to the intake manifold, that gets warped over a period of years. And those are milled flat, so we have a new flat surface to mount up against the intake manifold, and also as our reference point for doing machine work on the rest of the carburetor. To make up for the removed material, we've got an aluminum plate that's been secured to the base of the carburetors. Where bushings didn't exist originally, we now have bronze bushings for the throttle shafts. We have new custom-made throttle shafts. New custom-made butterflies inside the bores. The bores themselves have been made round, trued, and aligned with the shafts. The idle mixture screw has been machined so that it now sits true and plumb with the rest of the carburetor, and there is no deformation where the needle goes into the body of the carburetor. Any studs or screws have been helicoiled as necessary. The new factory gaskets are installed. As you can see, these are red. Aftermarket are black. You do not want to use the aftermarket gaskets. Another point you want to make sure of is when you remove this the fuel line to this fitting, you always use two wrenches on here, one to stabilize this fitting and one to move the swivel fitting. Otherwise, you have the potential of ripping this out of the carburetor body. Got the carburetors warmed up. The engine is warmed up. Do not attempt to tune these carburetors until you've got them warmed up. First thing we're going to do is make sure the air going through the second barrels is as little as possible, as minimum airflow. We use the Syncrometer, and what we're looking for is this little red line right here, the needle. And we want as little airflow going through the second barrel, since these cars do not idle on the second barrel. They only idle on the first barrel. So we've got very little airflow going through the second barrel. We want to make sure that the air going through the first barrel of each carburetor is the same. So that one right there is reading 5. This one over here is reading 4.5. So we will adjust it by our idle screw, just dialing our idle screw till we have 5. Got 5 there. Well, we've got both carburetor linkages are undone, so the carburetors are running independently of each other. Now we want to put this one back down to 5 exactly, or as close as we can. And that's what we're looking at. What we're looking at. Now, once we have that accomplished, airflow is uniform through both carburetors. We will now get the mixture correct, and we'll work with the idle mixture screws. The second barrel idle mixture screw on both carburetors is blanked off. It's not used on these carburetors. You only work with the first barrel of each carburetor. And what you're going to do is screw it until the engine stumbles, screw it out until it stumbles, find the midpoint. Stumble, back it out. Stumbles again. Find our midpoint. Engine sounds the best. And we are there. We then snap on our linkage, make sure nothing has changed. Make sure the linkage is synchronized and nothing changes when the linkage is snapped in position. Great. Now our next accomplishment is going to be to see how low we can get this thing to idle. Once these things are machined, we should get pretty low idle. Looks like we're running just a little bit above 550. Let's see how low we can get these things idle. And we will do that by uniformly screwing out the idle screw, half a turn at a time on each carburetor. So half a turn. It's a quarter turn. We're down to 325 it looks like. There's 300 RPM. See if we can go below 300. A little bit below 300. And we're still idling. Now reverse the process. Screw them back in, idle screws uniformly. It's a half a turn. Half a turn. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. Check with our meter, there's 5 right on the numbers. Attach our linkage. Nothing has changed. Fabulous carburetors. Fabulous carburetors and properly machined and rebuilt.